Adobe is quietly killing off third-party plugins one feature at a time. A fashion company gives Blender a Houdini-grade cloth solver for free, and there's a talent gap that's been 10 years in the making. It's Motion Mondays. A couple weeks ago, Adobe dropped After Effects 26.3, and our friend Jake Bartlett put together a feature roundup so good, it's got him thinking about uninstalling one of the most popular AE plugins on the market. The mask tracker is up to 5 times faster now, tracking faster than real time in some demos. Basically a mini planar tracker built in, so cleanup tasks no longer always mean reaching for Mocha. You can also paste SVGs from Illustrator and Figma straight into editable shape layers, which makes that always clunky pipeline a lot faster. Overlord still does it way better, but if you want the native route, All Access members can actually check out the workshop we did with Ron Stern on shape layer techniques. He covered this in depth. Depth of field finally landed in the Advanced 3D Renderer 2, though there are reports it can nearly double render times depending on your scene. And Adobe added one-click copy frame to clipboard, which combined with the native quick apply menu is apparently enough that even Jake might ditch Effects Console. I've used that tool for years, and honestly, there's just not many good reasons to anymore. This is one of those rare updates where Adobe adds stuff natively that used to cost real money in third-party tools. Every senior artist in this industry, myself included, was at some point somebody's risky junior hire, and right now, studios are quietly deciding not to take that risk as often. Winston Duke, one of the founders of Brands in Motion, wrote a piece called "Who's Training the Next Generation? Why It Matters More Than Ever." It's kind of a replay of what happened to visual effects in the 2010s and to journalism after 2008. Budget cuts gutted the bottom rung of those industries, and a decade later, there was nobody left to replace the artists aging out. At its best, a studio would bring someone in entry level, let them learn on the job, and eventually they'd become a mid-level or senior worth a ton to their employer. And everybody wants to blame AI for why that's breaking down now. Now, AI is part of it, but I think the bigger part is the market correcting for the overhiring of the early 2020s, back when stimulus money was flowing around and there was suddenly more work than there were artists to do it. What AI has actually done is raise the floor, which has been happening in this industry for 25 years anyway. When I started, just knowing After Effects got you a job. Now there's more free stuff to learn from than ever, and also less work that doesn't require real taste. And taste is the thing that takes the longest to develop. In the article, this line really stuck with me. A studio that stopped hiring juniors isn't missing anything today. Their mid-levels are fine, hired years ago. The real pain arrives when those mid-levels go senior, go freelance or leave, and there's nobody behind them. Mentoring is real work, and it lands on somebody already at capacity, which is exactly why studios keep putting it off. Some studios are doing this right though. Bria Studios runs Flyers on the Wall, where junior artists sit in on real client calls as basically a virtual intern, and a lot of School of Motion students have actually gone through this program and loved it. My advice after nearly 14 years running School of Motion, knowing software has never been worth less, and taste is still the hardest thing for any company to find. I saw a quote recently, I can't stop thinking about that. Taste is the ability to consistently make high quality, qualitative judgments where no objective metric exists. If you build that, it will not matter what software you're using. Do personal work, ask for critique, and spend your time on the boring stuff, timing, editorial, animation principles, design, not the fun software stuff. Motion design isn't just After Effects and Cinema 4D anymore either. It's a toolbox that you bring to making content. And there's plenty of hiring, it just looks different now. The traditional apprenticeship path might be shrinking, but the work isn't disappearing at all. Check out the article, it's really amazing. We'll link to it in the description. In case you missed it, we just dropped Unreal Engine for Broadcast Design, our second Unreal course, taught by Jonathan Winbush. Networks like CBS Sports lean on Unreal constantly, and Jonathan shows you how to build broadcast packages using cloners and procedural motion, and set up remote control workflows for live operators. It's all part of All Access, available now. We are also starting bi-monthly live office hours for All Access members, 1-hour streams where our teaching assistants help you get unstuck. First one is Wednesday, July 8th, RSVP in the community portal. And while you're there, grab a spot for our live workshop with Elijah Sheffield on July 16th, a sneak peek at our upcoming course, Grease Pencil Field Guide, where he shows you how to draw actual 3D geometry inside Blender and look cool while you're doing it. Jenga Effects, the makers of ABN, just did something better than the usual move of quietly killing off an old product. Instead of shutting down VectorayGen, they made it completely free. VectorayGen is a real-time procedural vector field generator. A fancy way of saying it lets you build 3D vector fields to art direct particles, smoke, and effects animation, working across Houdini, Unreal, and Unity. The final build, 1.04, is free forever now with no license checks, though it won't be updated anymore. Future development moves to their newer tool, Reallusion, coming soon. If you're learning real-time effects in something like Unreal, this is a great option now that it's free, and since it's been around for years, there's a ton of tutorials already out there. Jenga Effects also runs a layoff assistance program, giving free 6-month licenses to anyone laid off from games or visual effects. A Japanese fashion company casually open-sourced a research-grade cloth solver, and now it's a reason you may not need to go into Houdini to do cloth sims. Blender 5.2 is still in beta for a few more days, and the new geometry nodes-based XPBD cloth and hair framework is flagged by Blender's own docs as experimental, but it's in there, and the technology comes from Zozo, one of Japan's largest fashion e-commerce companies, who open-sourced their in-house cloth solver. They built it to render garments for online shopping, not for Blender, but open-sourcing it means we all get to use it now. I watched the breakdown from CG Dive, and the quality and speed are absolutely bonkers. Simulation has always been a weak spot for Blender, and with the Zozo solver, you get much more physically accurate results, geometry that doesn't intersect itself even when you push things. It's also got MCP integration, so you can direct simulations with natural language. This isn't quite the point where Houdini artists start letting their licenses lapse, but if you are already in Blender, there's less reason to feel like you need to graduate to something more powerful. Imaginary Forces dropped another banger title sequence. I know, and water is wet. This one is for ponies on Peacock. Gorgeous, stylized 3D in one continuous camera move, brutally hard to pull off, mixing subtle typography with 3D renders you'll want to watch a few times to catch everything. Ronnie Koff posted a breakdown on LinkedIn showing the play blast next to the final composite, a good reminder that knowing when to stay in 3D versus finishing in 2D is a real skill. Our friends at Giant Ant picked up a Frame Rate Select Award for a piece they did for Optimizely built around a mascot named Mark Edding. Say it slowly. In Illustrator, Andre Cassay's style. Everything Giant Ant makes looks different, but you can always feel that it's them. The restrained palette and hyper-stylized 2D really stand out against how dense everything else looks right now. And Territory Studio paired up with IO Interactive on the title sequence for their new James Bond game, 007 First Light. It plays like a high-end Bond movie intro built in Cinema 4D and Houdini with motion-captured performances, tons of silhouette lighting, and a song scored for the game by Lana Del Rey. Google dropped 2 huge AI models last week, and the first one is basically Nano Banana with the brakes cut. Nano Banana 2 Lite is almost as good as Nano Banana 2, but costs about a third as much and runs 7 to 8 times faster, generating images in a few seconds instead of 15 to 30. I tested it in Figma Weave, running a style transfer on a photo of one of our instructors, through both models side by side. Lite finished way faster, and while the results weren't quite as polished, that speed means you can run it 4 or 5 times and pick the best one, building an enormous asset library for pennies per generation. Omni Flash is the other one, now in public preview, a multimodal video model you can feed images, video, even map coordinates, and it edits and generates with wild control. I pulled a clip of a dancer off of Artlist and built a quick prompt array in Figma Weave to put her on the moon, in an arena, underwater, in the astral plane, and then I ran 6 generations at once. A few minutes later, I had that dancer performing in 6 completely different worlds, hair, physics, and all. Now, it doesn't work perfectly, you're re-rolling constantly, but it opens up options that would have been too slow and too expensive to even attempt before. The biggest complaint about AI video is control, and Reallusion's new AI studio is built entirely around solving that. The idea is you block a shot in 3D first, cameras, character consistency, motion capture, then pass that into a video model to handle lighting, texturing, and rendering. Our own Rabinowitz has been doing a version of this already, blocking scenes in Unreal Engine and running the playblasts through Seed Dance 2.0 to get exactly the look he wants while keeping full control over timing and camera. That's what gets me excited here. You keep your taste in the shot and let AI handle the parts that used to take forever. Reallusion also made iClone Personal, their character animation tool, free forever, so you can build a character, animate it, block your camera, and render it all in one place. The catch, though, straight from Reallusion's own forum, most of these video generators cap out around 10 seconds, and you're lucky to get 2 or 3 good seconds. Consistency still slips, and it can get very expensive fast, so it's early days, but I'm rooting for them. Notch is kind of like Touch Designer and Unreal Engine had a baby, and it's just got a lot more interesting. If you haven't heard of it, Notch is a mature, powerful tool for real-time 2D and 3D animation, mostly used for live visuals without much adoption in traditional motion design as of yet. Version 2026.2 might change that. They've integrated Onyx AI models, so you get real-time depth passes, segmentation, tracking, and upscaling piped straight into a live scene. Huge for, say, big events running camera feeds through effects on a screen. There's also a new set of nodes for loading your own HLSL shaders, and you can now import and render Gaussian splats with tools to deform, relight, and shadow them. The feature I think is actually the smartest is the new MCP option, letting Claude or ChatGPT access the Notch user manual directly to answer your questions. Notch has a real learning curve, and let's be honest, most of us are already asking AI instead of hunting for the tutorial. Incredible artist Isu Hostjan just got tired of manually painting normal maps for her own stylized props, so she built a fix for herself and started selling it for about 10 bucks. It's called ABN Painterly Normals, and it works inside Substance Painter. If you're going for that hand-painted non-photoreal look, your textures usually don't respond to lighting naturally once the camera moves. They just look flat. Normally, you'd hand paint a normal map to fix that. This tool generates one automatically from your existing painted textures, and in her demo video, the difference is obvious. Light moves across the surface far more naturally while keeping that stylized arcane look. Simple idea, genuinely useful, and the link is in the description. Nobody likes cutting out images, and Bria's new extract object model is getting genuinely good at doing it for you. You give it a natural language prompt to tell it what to cut out, and it hands you back an image with an alpha channel. I tested it in Figma Weave, generating a product shot with Nano Banana 2 Lite, then piping that straight into extract object with the right prompt and got a clean cutout in seconds. Where it gets really useful is chaining it. Run a whole array of prompts, say 10 musical instruments, and run every single one through extract object automatically. What used to be a manual cutout job for a batch of assets turns into one pass that runs while you go make coffee. Is it as good as Photoshop's tools? No, not even close on the edges yet. But for product mockups, quick comps, background elements, it can absolutely be good enough and super fast. Time to shout out our student of the week, Roman Tanasienko, a senior media designer at McKinsey & Company based in Lisbon, Portugal. Roman's been working through Cinema 4D Basecamp and just finished the Take Your Best Shot exercise, which tasks students with nailing a full 3D product render, lighting, texturing, and camera settings included. His renders are unbelievable for a beginner course. As a self-taught designer who learned mostly from YouTube, Roman told us this was the first official course he's ever completed, and he couldn't be happier. Roman, keep going. You are going to be an absolute killer. If you're anywhere near New York in September, or you just need an excuse to go, Pictoplasma NYC is happening September 17th and 18th, and it's built entirely around character creativity. Expect talks from genuinely great artists, an animation screening with a feature-length lineup of 18 shorts and experimental pieces, and plenty of chances to meet other character-obsessed artists. Confirmed speakers so far include killers like Brian Blomirth, Frank Ape, and Gemma Carell, with more to come. Pictoplasma even offered our community a discounted ticket, $150 for the full 2 days. The link is in the description, so grab one soon. And while you're in the Big Apple, go to 2nd Avenue Deli, get the hard salami, and do not skip out on the free pickles. And that's it for this episode of Motion Mondays. Don't forget to check out Unreal Engine for Broadcast Design live now for All Access members. Our first office hour stream hits July 8th, and Elijah Sheffield walks through Grease Pencil in Blender on July 16th. So grab a spot in the community portal for either one. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing week. We'll see you next Monday.